Hello and welcome back to EEXSport Talk. I'm your host, Gibson Yadike Jr. I'm here with my father, Emeka Yadike, and we are here to talk about the situation with Mo Salah and Liverpool. He's been on the bench 3 games in a row, and they just drew 3-3 with Leeds United, which is what? And then after that, he just blew up in the media just now, talking about, somebody at the club doesn't want him there, or like, he has no relationship with Mr. Arne Slot. And Arne Slot, what happened? Like last season, like the season before, which was Klopp's last season, Liverpool they were in the title race and then they just kind of dropped out. Like they almost gave up near the end. Come last season, Arne Slot, he's in UK, everything, and they win the whole thing. And now we're coming into this season and they've just been all over the place. They started off pretty strong, and then they just petered off. It's crazy because I'm happy about it because Man United are kind of doing better than them overall. But what's happening really? Like, take me through first of all Salah's like his outburst, and then we'll kind of just discuss it. We'll go from there.
Well, look, you can have all the fun you want because they're not doing pretty well now. But look, to be honest, I think that this was always coming. Players like Mohamed Salah, Cristiano Ronaldo, to a large extent, Messi. There are certain players that is so difficult for you to imagine that they'll be sitting on the bench. They could sit out 1 game, 2 games, 3 games. It becomes very difficult because, like I said, to a lesser extent Messi, but more Ronaldo and Salah, who are very obsessed with breaking records. They believe that once they're on the field, they will score. On the one hand, it seems like, if they're on the field, they help the team because they will always score goals. But on the other hand, because they count every game as an opportunity to either set or break a new record, they can't see themselves on the bench. So Mo Salah, yeah, he was upset that he was put on the bench for 3 straight games. But in the second game against Sunderland, he did come in the second half. And generally this season, not just him, but a greater percentage of the players at Liverpool have not played to their usual standards. And of course, Mo Salah is the one who sets the most very high standards. By this time last season, he had about, I think already 13 or 14 goals. And now he's got, far less. And so it's, on the one hand, I understand where he's coming from. But I would imagine that, in the ideal world, he will take this to the managers, to the owners. But we've seen him do this a few times before. Last season, when he was trying to get a new contract, he went off about how this could be his last game. And I think that
the previous season, he was the thing with him arguing with Klopp on the pitch, like literally, like they're just screaming at each other. He's standing on the line, and they're just screaming at each other. What are you doing?
Klopp kept him on the bench for just that 1 game, and he got upset, especially when he was told to come into the pitch, and then he says something in the media like, "If I say something, there will be fire." This time around, he did put on more fire now because he's gone out. The team hasn't done well. A lot of pressure on the team, a lot of pressure on the coach, his teammates, the fans, and then he goes out there and rants. He talks about being left on the bench. Someone doesn't want him. I mean, someone doesn't want him, and they offer him over £400,000 a week contract. That's just not on. And I think that to that extent, he needs to get his act together.
But like in general, what is going on with Liverpool? Just this like overall, because obviously Salah.
Well, I think
as a whole,
I'll take it from 2 angles. The first one is Liverpool won the league title with a very decent team that's left over from Klopp's era. There was only one signing, Federico Chiesa, who barely got a game last season. And so sometimes there's a saying that if it's not broken, then why fix it? They felt that it was time for them to try and make a lot of changes to the team, and they went all out. They sold a lot of players from the winning team. Unfortunately, they had the tragedy of losing Diogo Jota during the summer. But having lost Jota, I thought it was a bit of an overreach on the part of the management, and supposedly supported by Slot, who it would appear wants to try and create a team that he can own rather than being always people making comments about, he won with Klopp's team. But the reality is that he won the league. He was the one who did all the masterminding on the bench. So I didn't see why there was a need for such wholesale changes. And when you bring in a bunch of new players in the number that they brought on, tendency will be that the players will need a bit more time for them to get to know each other and understand
Like to get in sync.
where they want to play. So, and this has also affected Mo Salah because Mo Salah was playing with Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, all of them out of the team. Right behind him is Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's playing right back, and who was key to a lot of his movements, totally out of the sync. So when people look at it and say Mo Salah is not in the same form, the reality is that the movements and the people that and the kind of things that he has around him totally out of the way. He needs a bit of time to get used to the players that he has there. He has Alexander Isak, who barely trained in preseason while trying to force his way out of Newcastle. Yeah. And then he has two very heavy players. And this is my theory. First and foremost, Mo Salah was the star of that team. Now he has to psychologically deal with the fact that Liverpool has bought two players for heavy transfer fees. Florian Wirtz, 116 million, and of course 125 million for Alexander Isak. And these are like the new Rolls-Royce acquisitions of the club. And so to an extent, it seems like his role is being relegated, whereas he's like, this team was built for him. This is Mo Salah's team. And that's why they've given him two years contract. So I think psychologically, those things have worked, and the fact that these players just haven't come to the party in terms of their performance. Whilst everyone is angry with Salah, or a lot of fans are angry with Salah for his outburst, I understand. Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, and I think that it is a very, very delicate situation that needs to be handled a lot more professionally and with a lot more consideration, because this is something that can be resolved amicably, and because we know what he's capable of. He cannot go from being so brilliant last season to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It should have just been a conversation behind closed doors. You get all the important people in the room, the relevant people in the room, and you just have a talk like what's going on.
Absolutely.
You call the media like that, and you keep talking about he's being thrown under the bus. You basically kind of threw your own club under the bus when you go out there and you do something like that. So
yeah, no, in that regard, I think that he's totally wrong to go out and say. Even the entire statement was all personalized. I did this, I did that. Football is a team game. Without his teammates, which is the point that I've made earlier, Mo Salah was scoring goals because he had teammates that were very dangerous, that everyone was also looking out for them. People look at his goal scoring. He scored a lot of goals, but what gave him the record for last season was the fact that he created more goals. And the players that he created goals for, Diaz, Jota, and Núñez, they've all gone. And these are the players who, just from their movement, they get into positions that allow him to create chances for them. We have seen this season how he's just unable to replicate that form because the players around him are just not in sync with him. And I think that, where they are right now, if they had won the last two games, they'll be in fifth. They'll be like 6 points behind Arsenal. So they're not too far from where they should be. It's just that on the one hand, a lot of the teams, they seem to be struggling, but people need to realize that there's a lot of very good teams in the league who have invested in players, a lot of new players coming into the league from very big leagues and signing for these supposed small teams. But they've got talent. A lot of those players, when they play against Liverpool, play against Chelsea, play against Man United, they want to show enough quality that the next season they get bought. So when you look at the players who are starting for United, they got bought from Bournemouth and Brentford and Wolves and all the other teams. So the players from Leeds and Sunderland, they've given the big teams the most grief this season. Leeds beats Chelsea in midweek. Them scoring 3 against Liverpool shouldn't have been a surprise. Yeah, and then they gave Man City hell the previous week. Also Sunderland all over Chelsea not too long ago. The fact that people look at these teams and say, "Oh no, you should have beaten this team." No, there's nobody that you should have beaten, or that you will beat if you don't turn up. So
No,
the reality is that most people were shocked at how Liverpool went and won the league last season. So everyone was prepared for them,
yeah,
and they prepared the most for Salah.
yeah, but like the big question now that I kind of have going into this is now, how poor form after this rant, like what happens next? You know, do we put it back in the starting lineup? But then if you do that, it's almost like, you're only doing this because you complain, or is it now a genuine? Okay, what we've been trying to do hasn't been working, so let's go back. Let's put Salah back on the pitch, have him do what he does.
So there are two things here. That before he was taken out of the team, Liverpool had some scandalous results, including losing 3-0, 4-0, and all that. The 3 games that he's sat out, they won the first one against West Ham. They drew the other two against Sunderland at home and away to Leeds. So they have better points without him on the bench. However, could he have made a difference in the last game? We don't know. Because we've seen Salah play badly and still score 2 goals and create chances because we know what quality he's capable of. Yes, he did rant, but I think that the rest of it will be managed in-house, and maybe he has a conversation with the coach and the managers, and they try and put this behind them, and then he gets picked for the game against Inter Milan in the Champions League and against Brighton, because he has 2 games to play if he's available before he goes to AFCON. The manager can decide, or the coach can decide that, okay, maybe it's a chance for him to try the other players and do without Salah, so Salah can just go on to the AFCON. But I think that, if I am to advise them, the point will be that, look, we know what Salah is capable of doing. We know that because he's so obsessed with scoring records, he will get himself right into shape. And one thing to remember, in all his struggles, when he's played for Egypt in recent times, he's been scoring goals, he's been creating chances because he played in a different way for Egypt. So maybe it's about time the coach looks at changing his position a little bit, seeing if maybe he can be a lot closer to goal in a more central position. Who knows? There has to be some kind of give and take. I wouldn't see the coach as being weak if he brings him back into the team, because the reality is that players like Mo Salah are very few. Yes, Ronaldo had his own moment when he spoke out and eventually had to mutually agree to terminate his contract with United. And see, look where that ended him, with a massive contract in Saudi Arabia. So yes, a lot of people are speculating that Mo Salah might want to go to Saudi Arabia, but we know that he still believes that he can compete with the best in Europe, and he's not going to go. He loves the club. Liverpool suits him. So I think that they should resolve it and get him back into the team. To be honest, I think that they need to get him to start the next game, so that we can see if he actually plays a lot better, because now he's made a challenge. Rather than keeping him out, put him on the field and say, okay, look, fine, start the next game and show us that you still have what.
Like, now he has to deliver.
Yeah.
And you mentioned AFCON. He's been talking about inviting his parents to the Brighton game, which is going to be like the last one before he has to go play for AFCON. So will that be like his last game for Liverpool, or has he played his last game? Obviously, like you said, the idea is, the possibility is bring him back or don't bring him back. But what are we thinking there?
I don't think he's played his last game for Liverpool. I think that throughout his career at Liverpool, and especially when it has to do with his contract and all of that, we've had this issue back and forth occasionally, where he's come out with one statement or the other, and it's always been handled inside. But most times the club doesn't say anything, but they just get to work, and I doubt that they will issue any statements or anything about it. We'll see what happens with the game against Inter Milan, if the coach takes him along, and if he plays that game. But I believe that the Brighton game won't be his last game. I'm actually going to come out and predict that he's not going to go to Saudi, despite all the speculation. Everyone feels like he's doing this because he wants to go. No, so I think Mo Salah still feels like he can get as high as maybe the second highest scorer ever in the Premier League, and probably second highest even for Liverpool. My worry, though, is him talking about the things that he's done for the club. That seems like resignation that maybe I'm not appreciated. But look, everyone loves him. The club loves him. I don't think anyone in the management will want him to leave because he's still a big ticket seller. He's box office, and I definitely believe that he will still be he'll probably do well in one of these two games when he plays, and then he goes off to AFCON, and whatever happens, he comes back refreshed, and then we'll see. Because the thing with him is that he's somebody who does this, who lets his football and his goals do the talking. The one thing though that I expect him to do is uh look more for his teammates, because whilst he struggled this season, one thing that he hasn't done a lot of it is look out for his teammates to try and create more chances for his teammates. There were moments where on two occasions he needed to pass to Vets, who was better placed, and he didn't. Even though you say sometimes he didn't see him or one thing or the other. He needs to show needs to show that he's worth the money that they're paying him. He's worth all the records that he's done before. And he needs to move away from this. Look what I did before. In real terms, he has to
What
show
have you done for
on
me
a
lately?
day-to-day basis, what have you done for me lately? Yeah, that's the thing. So he needs to show that.
Yeah, thanks for your analysis reaction. Yes, it's gonna be something just to watch in the coming weeks. Like I said, Man United fan, so you guys can keep losing. It's fine. He can, he can stay off the pitch. He can stay off the pitch. It's fine. But yeah,
Well, look, Liverpool has always been bigger than all the players. And as a kid, when I started supporting the club, Kevin Keegan was the star of the show, and probably the one who made me fall in love with the club. When he went to Hamburg, it took me a while to warm up to Kenny Dalglish, who came in afterwards. But Kenny Dalglish, achieved even far greater. Then there were players like Ian Rush, John Barnes, John Aldridge, a lot of players, Dean Saunders, come all the way, Steven Gerrard, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, a lot of strikers, Emil Heskey, Stan Collymore, and in recent times, of course, Roberto Firmino, Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, of course. So I've seen them. I mean, the one player that's really I was really upset or disappointed when he left was Fernando Torres when he left for Chelsea for 50 million. And then, of course, Liverpool got Luis Suarez, and I was hoping to see Suarez and Torres play together, and then Torres threw his toys out of the pram as usual and got sold to Chelsea. But we saw Luis Suarez probably displayed some of the greatest performances, and then of course he started inching to go to Barcelona and left for Barcelona like Philippe Coutinho. But this club the club has always been bigger than the stars. The club will be there. These players will come. Stars will come and go. But so as an African, I'm really, really rooting for Mo Salah. I hope that sees out his contract with Liverpool, breaks more records, wins more titles. There's still a lot of football to be played this season, and I want to see him do all the best. But hey, we're going to enjoy him and all the other African stars in the next couple of weeks when they come for AFCON. So that will be something to look for.
Thank you, Dad, for joining us for today's episode. Thank you for watching at home. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will see you next time.